Welcome back to the Mind Behind True Crime. I'm Dr. Jaime Vona. Today's update in the Bryan Kohberger case is not just legal, it's deeply psychological. Bryan Kohberger has agreed to plead guilty to all 4 counts of first-degree murder in exchange for removal of the death penalty. This bombshell, you guys, this move isn't just a legal strategy, it's a rare window into his personality, and I would argue it's a strong behavioral evidence against the idea that he's autistic. Let me break this down.
Following is informative and contains my opinion and understanding of the subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
On June 30th, 2025, major outlets confirmed that Bryan Kohberger, accused of brutally murdering 4 University of Idaho students in November 2022, will plead guilty and accept 4 consecutive life sentences. This plea deal waives his right to an appeal and removes the possibility of execution. The hearing is scheduled for July 2nd. The Gonzalez family, heartbroken and blindsided, called the decision cruel and shocking. Legally, this means he admits guilt. The judge can either accept or reject the deal, but not impose the DP. The victims' families may speak, but can't stop the proceedings, unfortunately. Let's address the question that I get asked a lot. Could Bryan be autistic? Here's the thing. Autistic traits don't typically include manipulation, deception, or power. What we do see here through this plea deal is not a picture of a man confused by social rules. We're seeing someone who's strategic, image-aware, and outcome-focused. This plea deal is not impulsive. It's emotionally detached, you guys. He's trading visibility, ego, and courtroom drama for survival. This move screams narcissistic self-preservation. He's not throwing himself at the mercy of the court out of remorse. He's making a chess move here. A person with narcissistic personality doesn't necessarily deny guilt. They deny vulnerability. By pleading guilty, he remains in control of the narrative. He doesn't want his ideas to be cross-examined. He doesn't want experts psychoanalyzing him on or off the stand. He doesn't want to face the families. This is image management, and it tracks with high-functioning, calculated personality, not neurodevelopmental disorders. Many point it to Bryan's social difficulties, too, as a sign of autism, but awkwardness alone is not diagnostic. Is he awkward? Yes. He's awkward, but he's also cunning. He studied criminal justice. He surveilled the crime scene and the victims over 12 times, and he allegedly returned after the crime. Those are antisocial features, not neurodivergence. So what does a guilty plea reveal for him? Well, let's tell us what it reveals. It reveals that he understands right from wrong. It reveals that he fears losing control of his consequences, especially death. Now he gets control of the narrative, and he gets to choose life or death for himself. He chose life. We now know because of this that he can negotiate. We also know that he's not psychotic or detached from reality. This plea shows a man fully oriented, strategic, and likely aware that the forensic evidence against him is overwhelming. This also is the first public admission of responsibility, but make no mistake, this isn't accountability. This is controlled collapse. He didn't crumble. One of the core psychological dynamics I spoke about in my first video was Bryan Kohberger's lack of identity development. He doesn't seem to have a clear, grounded sense of who he is. Individuals like this often overcompensate by building fantasy identities that grant them power, purpose, and godlike control. In Bryan's case, I believe he found that identity in the act of murder. He didn't just kill, he chose who to kill. He chose who to let live. That's not random. It's not panic. It's calculated assertion of power, in my opinion. It's as if he positioned himself as the one who chooses to live and who chooses who dies. And now through this plea deal, he does it again. He gets to decide life over death for himself. If that's not godlike or grandiose thinking, I don't know what is. That's not just remorse. This is ego preservation. I'll link my original video on identity with Bryan Kohberger at the end of the video so you can see how early this pattern emerged for him. Bryan Kohberger pleading guilty doesn't make this case over. It makes it harder to understand, harder to digest. But from a behavioral and forensic psychology perspective, this plea deal reveals exactly what I've been saying since the beginning. This is a man exhibiting traits of narcissistic and antisocial personality disorder. He didn't plead guilty because he's scared. He's not afraid of death. He's afraid of being out of control. Think about it. He studied serial killers like Ted Bundy. He knew the power of owning the spotlight, but trials are messy, right? You lose control. People poke holes in your genius. And that's unbearable to someone with this psychological profile. By pleading guilty, he keeps control of the narrative. He avoids humiliation. He denies the family's closure. And once again, he positions himself as the one who decides how the story ends. That's not remorse. That's manipulation. That's arrogance. Until next time, I'm Dr. Vona. Please like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this so that I can continue to bring you content. Thank you so much.